Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to this morning's helpline session with your host, James McDonald.
Well, thank you very much, Andrea. I'd like to start by welcoming our participants to our helpline session. Happy Monday morning to everybody, and we've got a great session here planned for everybody. First of all, for all of our 2 members in the greater Kansas City area, congratulations on winning the World Series last night. I don't know if we have 2 members in Kansas City. I'm just kidding. We might have more than that. Who knows? But anyway, and I hope, by the way, that you've all turned your clocks back. I know I walked by the microwave oven this morning and I noticed that it was wrong. So it usually takes a week, doesn't it, Andrea, before all of your clocks are where they're supposed to be?
Yeah.
Is that true, or is that just me?
I think that's true. I think every single one of
your car right now still says that it's whatever, an hour.
It does.
Later.
If it wasn't for the technology of our phones changing on their own, yes, I'd probably still be at the wrong time.
Exactly. So it'll be about a week before everybody's on the correct time. But welcome everybody to our helpline session. Remember, we can discuss anything you want today. This is what we do every Monday. It's an open forum, so you can type your questions into the chat. You can volunteer if you have a working mic. We can discuss any element of the system you want, whether it's lead generation, whether it's lead conversion, setting up the systems, the unique selling propositions, hiring, training, managing, anything that relates to the Craig Proctor system, any topic that you want to bring up. We can discuss it here and give you some ideas as to the direction that you might want to go in. But we will take as many questions, comments, and topics as time permits. I do want to remind everybody, though, we've got a great week here. On Thursday, the 5th, we're going to do our role play session, of course, where we strictly focus on the universal callback script. And then on Friday, we're going to do our ad clinic session, our marketing session, and we encourage you to send in your ads to take a look at, and we'll take a look at anything that you're doing to lead generate, and we will critique it, especially your lead generation that's working well. It'd be good to take a look at that because we can often tweak it so that it can work even better. And usually what working better means is not necessarily generating more leads, but maybe generating more of the kinds of leads that you're doing well with. Generating more of the kinds of leads that we now see are resulting in clients and in commissions. So if you knew that over the last few months, if you took a look at the sales that you had and you looked at the origin of where they came from, we could tweak our lead generation to get more of those kinds of prospects that resulted in a client and ultimately in a closing for us. That's the objective here. But it takes a little time to work backwards. Like if you just started the system, say in September, well, it might be too early as of right now for us to be able to figure that out. But over the next couple of months, it's going to be much easier to figure out, okay, of the deals we've closed, where did those clients come from? Where did the prospects originate? What were they looking for? And then when we figure that out, we can run more ads. We can focus our marketing more on getting those prospects that already resulted in closings for us. And it stands to reason if we get more of them, then we'll get more of the same. Remember this, in everything that you're doing, you always want to think about duplication. Is it duplicatable? Every time that we have a sale, we need to look at that sale and say, could I do that again? Is that duplicatable? Like, if I got a referral from my cousin Fred in Florida, that's not duplicatable. I can't go back to cousin Fred and say, hey, do you have anybody else that's moving to my area? He'd say, no, I don't know anybody else. This is a one-shot deal. It's not duplicatable. You can't go back and repeat that with cousin Fred. But if you're using the system and we generated a prospect that resulted in a client and that client resulted in a sale, then we can trace that back and say, okay, what was that prospect looking for in the first place and where were they looking? Because we can do that again. And since it's proven to be effective, because I just put a check in the bank, then we know that that is duplicatable. We can do more of that, and we can do a better job of making sure that that happens again and again and again and again. But here's the problem. When you're new and just starting the system and we don't have any closings, then we have nothing to look back on when we look at where did this closing come from? Well, we have to have the closings from the system first before we can then trace it back and figure that out. So I don't know if I've done a sufficient job of explaining that, but for those of you that are just starting with this system, you'll see how this works. And we're going to get into much further depth on this at the boot camp. And that was something else that I wanted to reference here, Andrea, before we started taking questions. You know that on the 19th in Huntington Beach, for all of our coaching members on the West Coast, we're going to encourage you to come to the Hyatt in Huntington Beach for the day on the 19th of November. And this is going to be a phenomenal day. We're going to go from 9 in the morning until probably 6:30 in the evening, something like that is usually how late we go. But it's an awesome day. It's only for coaching students, and we have time to really get deep and cover everything to do with lead generation, lead conversion, USPs, setting up systems, buyer and listing presentation. Make sure that there are no holes in your understanding of the system. And Craig just last week did the Toronto boot camp for all of our East Coast members. Anyway, it's a really great day, and I really encourage you to register if you haven't. It's free. You're in the program, so we're doing this for you. So make sure you do register, because there are still a ton of you that haven't done that yet, and we would really like to know our numbers so that we can be that much better prepared for you. Okay, having said that, Andrea, why don't we do this? Let's take some of the questions that have been sent in, and then we'll open up the lines or open up the chat, and we'll see what kind of questions or topics of conversation we have.
Yes, and if you haven't done so already, go ahead and type your question or comment in the chat box, or click the little hand icon you see at the top of your webinar control panel. You must have a working mic or be on the telephone. I would like to start off with Andy Ford's success story. He says, "Good morning. I'm happy to report I sold my listing last Friday in 7 days using the I'll sell it in under 60 days or sell it for free. Also, he wrote the listing at 6% with a $395 transaction coordinator fee, 5% if he double-ended it, which he did."
Wow, that's fantastic. That is a real success story. Now, I guess if I was really going to dive into this, what I would want to know are a couple things. Like, for example, where did the prospect come from in the first place? I understand that at the listing presentation, you use the 60 days or free guarantee. So you get the listing. One of the components of your listing presentation is your guarantee. Right? I will guarantee I'm going to get this home sold in under 60 days. If not, my commission is free. The only condition is that we have to mutually agree on the list price, and we can't underprice the listing, nor can we overprice the listing. We've got to list the property within market value range. That could be at the top of market value range, but it has to be within market value range. Now, what happens when you do that is, of course, the property sells, and the property sells quickly. And so this is not a surprising outcome. But what we want to look at is, where did this prospect come from in the first place? And hopefully, what we'll discover is that the way that this prospect identified themselves is duplicatable. You can do it again. But if the answer is, well, it was actually my cousin, that ain't duplicatable, because you're going to run out of cousins. Right? If it was a referral from your aunt, that's not duplicatable. That's not going to happen again. So this is the kind of thing where it's very important that if we can look at this and say, well, no, this person came as a result. They responded to an online home evaluation that I offered on Facebook. Perfect. That's duplicatable. Now we can look at that and say, okay, so this person was looking for an online home evaluation. Now, where were they looking? Because maybe there's some insight into that. Maybe we can take this ad and we can customize it, knowing that this person was in this particular area. We can focus some of our marketing to that area, offering online home evaluations. We can get more of what we've just proven will work. Something else I want to point out there as well is that it sounds like Andy charged an upfront, or in addition, they charged a fee on top of their regular commission. They charged a $395 transaction fee, which is pretty awesome. And again, I know that we've talked about that a lot. You gotta walk before you run. But what you're going to discover is, if your presentation is excellent, then when it comes to pricing and when it comes to your fee, People are willing to pay a little bit more money to get more. And really what you're talking about with a $395 fee is a little bit more. It is a little bit more. But people are willing to pay a little bit more to get more. And that's the purpose of your presentation, is it demonstrates that you do more, you get a better result, you are clearly the expert, and people will pay more money for an expert. Your 60 days or free guarantee is just an example that contributed to their seeing you as being better than everybody else. And because they saw you as being better than anybody else, they're willing to pay you a little bit more money. So that's a really good news story, and I'm happy that you started off with that one, Andrea.
Yeah, and just apologize. Andy is a female. I do it every time. I'm so sorry. When you don't have a face, sometimes I get confused. And
I'm sure Andy has a face.
Okay, well, yeah, and I'm sure it's a beautiful face. That was a referral
Like
she wanted to add in.
McDowell.
And it was a referral from her Romans group. That's where it came from, just so everyone has that information.
Yeah, so, so here's what we've got to take from that, okay? That's not terribly duplicatable. We can do things to encourage it, but it's not as duplicatable as we like. But what part of it is duplicatable? Okay, this is the part that's duplicatable. Offering the 60 days are free in the listing presentation, that's duplicatable. You could do that in every single presentation you give. That's duplicatable. And if it impacted that particular seller, then it will also impact all the other sellers as well. If you articulated that unique selling proposition in a way that they clearly saw the benefit of that, then it stands to reason that is duplicatable. That is something you could do with every seller that you meet with. Now, the part that isn't duplicatable is how you generated them in the first place. So that's something that we've still got to work on with Andy.
Okay. Our next question comes from Jordan. What is the order that you introduce documents to the buyer at an appointment? Cancellation guarantee, then $5,000 guaranteed savings, then VIP buyer agreement?
Okay, well, so first of all, the cancellation guarantee, you can look at this one of two ways, okay? And remember, this is a test. You could offer the cancellation guarantee right out of the gates. It could be the very first thing that you offer for their peace of mind in knowing that if they choose to hire you, then they cannot make a mistake. So that's a really good idea to test that. And we've got students in our Platinum system that are doing it that way. However, what you're also doing, though, is you're introducing the concept of hiring before you've talked about the benefit of hiring. So we would call that commitment first before benefit, which would be incorrect. All right. So the way that the presentation is laid out is first we want to give them all of the benefits of working with us. We explain the benefits of representation. We explain to them all the benefits of providing them with proprietary information and priority access to all the information. We talk about how we don't get paid by the buyer. Our representation is free. We talk about how you're never obligated to buy a property. We talk about all of the benefits of having an exclusive representative, and that representative being us. Then we talk about our unique benefits, like any performance guarantees that we have. We talk about any services that you include in your buyer presentation as well. You talk about then the VIP buyer agreement. Now, the idea is as a last measure, you use the cancellation guarantee in tandem with the VIP buyer agreement so that it removes the objection of, well, what if I'm making a mistake in hiring you? I don't know you. I've never met you before. What if I hire you and I'm locked into a 6-month agreement with you and you don't do what you say? So the idea is that's what the cancellation agreement is for. Now, two ways of looking at that. You can offer the cancellation agreement and eventually become so good at the presentation that you really don't need to offer it. But the other way of looking at it is this. If you do a really good job with your buyers, and your buyers are never obligated to buy anything, nor will they ever pay you whether they buy something or not, then what would be the downside of offering a cancellation guarantee if you know that your buyers do not take you up on the cancellation guarantee? If you know that the buyers that you represent really do feel you do a great job for them and they don't want to fire you, then offering the cancellation guarantee in the presentation is only going to aid in causing them to see you as the competent, confident, knowledgeable expert that they're looking to hire. There is no downside to it. But just remember this when you're creating the presentation. It's benefit first, then commitment. So all of the benefits of working, number one, with a realtor, the benefits of working with representation versus without, then the benefits of that representation being you, okay, that's very, very important. In other words, why would I want to hire anybody? Then why should that anybody be me? And that's where we include our performance guarantees, whatever they might be. Then the VIP buyer agreement with the cancellation guarantee. That's the standard way that Craig designed the buyer presentation. But again, you imitate, then you innovate. So if you copy it that way, and then we want to move things around and experiment, you may find that offering a cancellation guarantee up front, letting them know that they have complete 100% peace of mind. You're not, you know, wanting them to do anything that they don't want to do. They cannot make a mistake in any way, shape, or form. Let's get that out of the way up front so you don't have to be concerned that you're going to make a mistake in hiring any realtor, or that being me, in this process. Anyway, good question.
Okay, our next question comes from Douglas. He says, HDX does not allow the search of one-story homes. He says it hurts his team because they are trying to get empty nesters that are downsizing. How does he handle this?
Are there keywords? Like, I know that in some areas a one-bedroom home is called a bungalow, but they don't use that terminology everywhere. So that's probably, I guess, what we'd have to look for is there another description besides one story that we could be looking for? Is it, something to do with stairs, right, or levels? There's got to be some search criteria that would help us determine that, or type of property, something in the search criteria that would increase the likeliness that the properties that were given to us would be more bungalow, ranch style, one level properties. But yeah, we'd have to look at that, and the best person to talk to would be number one, if it's HDX, then Success website, and number two, what are the fields on your MLS, like your local MLS? How would you be able to figure that out? And what would you search for there?
Okay. Larry's question, he says, when AMS captures a phone number but the caller does not leave a message, do we call them back as if they had left a message, or is that proven to be a waste of time?
If they didn't request the information, then what would be your reason for calling them? See, this is the problem, is the whole premise of Craig's system is this. Look, for us to consider somebody a prospect so that we're not wasting our time cold calling, we only want to follow up with those that have indicated a motivation to buy or sell real estate. If they ask us for real estate information, what it signifies to us is that there's a motivation present with that particular prospect. So calling them back would be a justifiable use of our time. All right, so I want to put this into two categories. Number one, if somebody actually asked us for information, then they would be a worthy prospect for us to spend our time following up with, because they've proven to us that there's a motivation there to buy or sell. Now, that's number one. But number two, it also means that now when we follow up with that prospect, we can tell the prospect that the reason we're following up with them is because they asked us for information. The reason I'm calling is because you requested information from me, which is the premise of the universal callback script. The universal callback script doesn't work if we say, the reason I'm calling you is because I want something from you. It doesn't work. It only works one way. The only way the universal callback script works is if we're able to say, I'm following up with you because you requested information from me. And if you take away their request for information from you, it means the premise of the call has now shifted, and the reason I'm calling you is because I want. But That's what telemarketers do. You're going to get hung up on, you're going to be spoken to rudely, and you're not going to be perceived as the provider of information. You're certainly not going to be perceived as the expert. You're going to be perceived as the salesperson. Okay? So the answer is no. We don't want to follow up with that person that didn't request information. If you say, well, I have lots and lots of prospects that did request information, then following up with somebody that didn't request information would be at the cost of following up with someone who did. If you say, yeah, but I'm really not getting that many prospects requesting information, then let's fix what's broken. We don't want to say, okay, well, in that case, we might as well follow up with them because, we don't really have anybody else to follow up with. No, that's not the answer. That's a Band-Aid solution. The solution is, well, then let's figure out what we need to tweak so that we are getting prospects asking for the information. If somebody calls into your hotline, let's agree, the only way they can get information is to leave a message, and they know it before they even pick up the phone. If I respond to a message that says, find out what homes in your neighborhood are selling for, a free report, I know that if I pick up the phone and I call that 1-800 number, I know 100% the only way to get that information is to leave a message. I already know it. When I pick up the phone, I know. If it says free list of distressed sale foreclosure deals, I know that when I pick up the phone and call that 800 hotline number, I have to leave a message if I want to get those properties, because the phone line isn't capable of showing me properties. I have to leave a message. So a high percentage of prospects are already expecting when they pick up the phone that they're going to have to request the information. If they're calling in and they're not requesting the information, then we need to look at the script and we need to look at the ad, and we need to figure out what subtleties need to be changed and tweaked so that a high percentage of the prospects that call in actually leave a message, because the truth is they should be. Long-winded answer, I know, Andrea.
We have Michelle. Despite numerous tweaks, our Google AdWords just aren't working at all. We're using the foreclosure distress cell that was developed by Success website. Does Google AdWords really work?
Yes, it absolutely does. Here's what you're going to find, as many others have found as well, is that the more generic your ads are, the less effective they tend to be. The more specific your ads are, the better they tend to work. Okay, so there are two things that we need to look at with the pay-per-click ads. The first are the keywords that prospects are searching for. We've got to make sure that our keywords are effective in making sure that our ads are visible to prospects that we'd like to attract. But if we have a lot of keywords that are attracting prospects to our ads, then what we'll often find is that the ads themselves need to be more specific. They need to target specific geographical areas. They need to target specific price points or specific types of properties that prospects are searching for. If you have a generic ad, if somebody's doing a search for property in a given area and your ad appears generic, distress sales, bank foreclosure, hot list of properties, the ad very often is so all-encompassing that it doesn't appeal to what the prospect is looking for. And that happens all the time. So the way to tweak the ads is we've got to be way more specific in the geographical area of these ads or the price point of these properties. Right? Geographical area of the properties, price point of the properties, and even types of properties that are in high demand. And when you do that, what you're going to find is you're running an ad that is offering the specific property that appeals to that prospect instead of a generic all-encompassing offer that really doesn't appeal to anybody specifically. It's just so wide open and all-encompassing that it doesn't really resonate with any one particular prospect. That's the problem. Okay, now the other thing to look at is this. Let's make sure we're addressing the right problem. Is the problem that prospects are not clicking on the ad because it's not compelling to them? Is it that they're not seeing the ad in the first place? Or is it that they are seeing the ad, They are clicking on the ad, but when they get to the landing page on your website, they're not asking for the information.
Now, James, just to clarify, you're right with that. She has said they are clicking, but no one's leaving their information. So I have asked if she could send me her URL because I'd like to see the landing page, but go ahead.
Right. Okay, so this is good because here's what this means then. It means that if the ad is successfully generating clicks, then where we need to customize and make more specific the offer is the landing page. Here's what this means. We've done an autopsy here, and we've discovered that the problem that you're having isn't the keyword searches, it isn't the ad, it's the landing page. Prospects are being compelled by the ad enough that they're clicking on the ad. But when they get to the landing page, what they're seeing is generic information. And what they need to see is more specific, accurate information that pertains to them. So whatever we're doing on our landing page, we need to tweak it and we need to make adjustments, because the reason that prospects are going to this landing page is because you've done a good job of compelling them with your offer. So we know there's a level of motivation there. Now we just need to make sure that when they get to the landing page, we put that offer on steroids and we really compel the prospect to ask for the information in a non-threatening environment. All right, so that's the next thing we'll be looking to tweak. Now, why don't you do this? Why don't you send in the ads that you're in, take a screenshot of your ads and keywords and the landing page, and we'll take a look at it on the Ad Clinic session on Friday. Cool deal?
Perfect. Okay, so Larry has a question about the boot camp on the 19th. Is there any data or documentation we should bring with us?
No, however, what you can bring is if you want to bring any of your marketing that you're doing, we will have a chance to take a look at it. We're going to do some panels with the group, right? So we'll call you up, we'll have you come up on panels. So if you would like to have your marketing critiqued at the boot camp, we're going to do some marketing panels. Bring your marketing with you. You can do it in a couple of ways. You can actually bring like hard copy of your of whatever marketing you're doing, or if you put it on a little thumb drive, then we can take a look at your marketing at the boot camp, and we'd love to do that. So let me put that out there. Anybody that's coming to the boot camp, if you want us to look at your marketing, we're going to do some panels, and we'll have you come on up on the panels, and we'll go through some of your marketing, and we'll share it with everybody. We'll look at what you're doing, and we'll critique it, and that would be really useful. So you can put it all on a thumb drive, or you can actually bring physical marketing with you. Although obviously it would be better if everybody could see it, and so on a thumb drive would be preferable.
Okay. Michael says, what is a recommended follow-up for a buyer who you've met, but they didn't want to sign the agreement since they are still 3 months away from being ready to buy a house?
Okay, but you're misunderstanding the purpose of your buyer service. The purpose of your buyer service isn't to buy a home. It's the entire process. The purpose of your buyer service is to help them find and look for a home. Because here's the thing, we know that that buyer is looking for a property. If they weren't, they never would have responded to your ad in the first place. And if they never responded to your ad in the first place, you never would have met with them in the first place for your presentation. The only reason they responded to your ad is because they're actively looking, even if they're not going to buy anything, they're actively looking at properties right now. And when they were actively looking at properties, you followed up with them and you compelled them by saying, hey, if I know what you're looking for, I can email you properties every day. And they said, that would be great, because not because they're looking to buy something today, but because they're looking. Now when they got face-to-face with you at the appointment, nothing changed. Nothing changed. You're still offering to help them look. There's no obligation to buy anything for 3 months, 6 months, or ever. Listen, this is a product of your presentation. That's all it is. We have a sincere prospect who's in the process. We know they're not buying anything, but the objective isn't to get them to hire you the day they're buying something. The idea is, hey, you may spend 3, 4, 6 months looking around, but if I can help you do that, you're going to be made aware of the best properties the second they come on the market, including the hard to find properties, like the properties that aren't yet available on the market, the pocket listings, the private sales. All of those properties I'm going to make available to you. How much do you have to pay me? Nothing. My representation is free. Are you obligated to buy something? Nope, never. You're never obligated to buy anything. When do you have to buy? Never. There is no downside. Absolutely no downside. This is the answer has nothing to do with the prospect. It has to do with your presentation and your articulation of what it is the buyer is hiring you to do. The buyer isn't just hiring you to purchase a home. They're hiring you to help them look around. And if that process takes months, you're cool with that. That's why the contract is 6 months or 12 months long, because you don't expect them to buy anything right now. You know that they're in the process of looking. But hell, if you're going to look, I can make looking a much, much better, more fruitful process. That's the benefit of working with you. Good question.
Okay, we have a couple of audio questions, so I'll open Colleen Moore's line. Go ahead, Colleen.
Okay, actually it's her son, because we're a team, Dave, Colleen, and Aaron. So this is Aaron. How you doing,
Aaron.
James?
I'm good. How you doing, Aaron?
Great, wonderful. Okay, so my question actually relates to the one you already answered, and he was talking about the presentation. We had our coach send us Craig Proctor doing the buyer presentation, and in his presentation, he went through the whole thing. Then he asked for them to sign the VIP buyer agreement, and then after that, if they declined to sign it, he used the cancellation. Guarantee. Right, the cancellation, and he used the other guarantee, which we are putting our guarantees all over our branded site. Okay, that's.
Are you talking about the $5,000 savings guarantee?
Correct. Actually, we're doing 10 because we're in San Diego, so it makes more sense. But yes, we are doing that. We are doing that. We'll save you 10,000, or guaranteed to, or we'll pay you 1,000. So right. Should we? Go ahead.
What I was going to say is, let me make some suggestions. Okay. So here's the thing. In the beginning, using the cancellation guarantee just as a standard part of your buyer presentation makes complete and perfect sense. In the beginning, just use it. Use it no matter what. Don't use it if they balk. Just use it regardless. And because what it's going to do is it's going to build confidence in your presentation. Because what you're doing is you're taking away any risk to the prospect. It's complete 100% risk removal. And what happens is you become really confident with your presentation. Then, if you want to experiment with removing the cancellation guarantee, what you'll probably find is it won't make any difference. You'll get just as many buyers to sign without the cancellation guarantee as with it. But then you can also look at it and ask yourself this. When you offered the cancellation guarantee, how often did the buyers take you up on the guarantee? How often? And if your answer is never, then I would never take it out of the presentation. Why?
Right. Okay. All right. Did you hear that? Okay. Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, James.
Yeah. Like, don't fix what isn't broken. If you told me, oh my God, I offer the cancellation guarantee, they're firing us left, right, and center, like they hate us. Well, then we're fixing. Yeah. We're really fixing what isn't broken. Right. What's broken is obviously our process. But you're not saying that. What you're finding, like everybody else finds, is that you do a great job of representing your clients. So they don't want to fire you. They are happy with the job that you're doing. So if that's true and they don't take you up on the cancellation, then why would we ever remove that why would we ever take tools out of our toolbox if we don't need to?
Got it. Okay. All right, my man. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Let me point out one other thing here as well, okay? The more tools that we offer, the more benefits that we offer to the prospect, what it's doing, it's shaping their perception of you and your business. So what they're thinking with everything that you guys are offering is that you're the experts, right? Like, wow, I can see that all realtors are not the same. Everything that you guys are offering, every guarantee, every service that you're offering, everything that you do, your process, what it's doing is it's instilling in the prospect, the client now, that you guys are the experts. Now, here's why that's important. The more that we get the prospect to understand that we're the experts, then when it comes time to that buyer making an offer, when you suggest to them what a good offer looks like, they're going to listen to you. In other words, People are far more likely to listen to the advice of an expert than a salesperson, right? So we want our buyer clients, when we offer them advice, when it's time for them to make an offer, we want to make sure that they're listening to our advice on what offer is going to be accepted so that they actually get the property. But if they see you as a salesperson, they know that a salesperson just wants the deal. A commission-starved salesperson just wants the deal. So they don't care whether you're getting the best value or not. They know that they're just looking for a commission. Whereas if you are positioned as the expert, and that has been evident from the minute they met you, then when it comes time to offering advice, when the offer process comes to fruition, they're far more likely to listen to your advice. That's hugely important, and it's all framed at that buyer presentation. The buyer presentation is when they are forming their opinion of you. It's critical. All right, really good question. Let's keep going here, Andrea.
Okay, we have a hand raised from Kathy Buck. Your mic is now open. You're muted on your end. Just hit the red mic button. Okay.
Hello, hello.
Still muted on their end. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. We have Terry Apps. Your mic is now open.
Oh, hi. James, can you hear me okay?
I can. How are you, Terry?
I'm doing fine. I have a question, or an observation. As I continue to generate leads with these various ads and other things, I'm assuming that the amount of just inappropriate or bad leads are going to drop as a percentage of just general growth. For example, right about now, I'm running about 30% of my ads are generating information or non-leads, really, and it's I consider it a waste of time. Pretty much what you alluded to with some of the other.
So when you say a bad lead, you mean somebody that doesn't actually ask for information?
Ask for information, or they leave bad information, phone numbers, that kind of thing. In fact, I'm doing really well all of a sudden with Facebook ads. I started this last week generating all kinds of different leads, but then, for example, I had one over the weekend where in less than 5 hours he contacted me 10 times. Now, I had a question about that, and so what I actually ended up doing is checking the area code for his phone number, and it turned out it was an unassigned area code, and actually was a country code for Ireland. So I had
you know what? Here's what I find. Okay, when the same prospect requests information a whole bunch of times, what I find is it's one of two things. More likely, number two. Okay, number one, it's either a really, really super motivated prospect, or more likely, it's another realtor that really, really wants to know what you're doing.
And I have gotten one or two of those too.
Yeah, that's been my experience with that. So, you know, it's nice when somebody's so motivated that they really want information that they ask for it a bunch of different times, and you can kind of see that they're doing that. But the more likely scenario is, yeah, it's the realtor in the cubicle over that wants to know what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
anyway.
But yeah, and to answer your question, here's the way that your brain has to compartmentalize this. Your website and your hotline are filters. They're filters. What they're designed to do is lots and lots of people go into the filter with moderate motivation, maybe even less than moderate motivation. The idea of the filter is it's to only leave you with those that go into the filter with tremendous motivation. Because only somebody with real tremendous motivation would ask for the information, give up their anonymity, and take the time to offer all of that information and hit submit on your website or leave a message on your hotline. Only somebody that had a high level of motivation and readiness and seriousness would do that. The overwhelming majority of the prospects, because their motivation is not to that degree, they'll leave and they won't ask for the information. Or at best, if they do leave information, it will be incorrect or incomplete. So when you see that, you've got to look at your website and say, you're doing your job. You are acting as a filter, and you're filtering out the less desirable prospects that clearly aren't at that point yet. But at the same time, though, when a prospect does ask for the information, we have to understand that the reason they did it is because they're motivated, they're serious, they're good, That's why they did it. So if we follow up with those prospects that actually did it and we don't get anywhere with them, we've got to understand it's not them, it's us. The
Right.
prospect, believe me, they didn't jump through all those hoops because they're not interested. They did it because they are. So it's okay if we don't get anywhere with them. It just means we've got to fix it. But what we're never going to do is blame the prospect.
Sure, I understand that. I think the other thing too is the issue of tweaking the landing page to make sure it has some definitive information that they're really looking for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, the landing page is critical. Really, the landing page is as or more critical than the ad that got them there in the first place.
I agree. So.
Not only because of quantity, but more importantly because of quality. The quality of prospect is largely determined by the landing page. So why don't you do this? I'd like to see what ads you're running on Facebook and what the landing page looks like, and we'll take a look at it on Friday.
That sounds great. I'll do it.
Perfect. Thanks, Terry.
You bet. Thank you.
Our next hand raised, Lisa Nash. Your mic is now open.
Oh, hi. I don't know if you're familiar with, or I assume you are, bold leads?
Of course.
Yeah. So I've been doing well getting the bold leads, and my question is, what I struggle with is the initial email goes out, and then within 5 minutes another email goes out asking them for a little bit of detailed information on their property. And it's great because I'm getting a lot of people giving me information, which means, like you were saying, that they're obviously interested and motivated. But then I'm not sure if I don't speak to them for whatever reason, if I leave messages or if I can't get them, I've tried them several times. Should I be turning off the funnel and not sending them any more of the emails until I speak to them? Because it sort of goes through a whole series of emails. Yeah, so you know what the emails are. Yeah. So I'm just never sure. I'm not sure of how, I love...
Are these bold leads coming as a result of online home evaluations or lists of properties?
Exactly. It's the online home evaluation. So I'm getting the leads, and I feel like they're good leads because they're choosing to have a dialogue about what their property is like.
Absolutely.
But there's something. Then it sort of goes to pot after that.
So what percentage of them are you actually speaking to?
What percentage?
Of those that give you a usable phone number, how many of them are you speaking to, would you say?
Okay, so I'd say probably on a daily basis I get about 5 leads, and I probably do speak to about one of those 5.
Okay, so that's 20%.
Yeah, 20%.
Which is way low. Now, of all 5 of them are giving you phone numbers. You have phone numbers.
I get phone numbers. I mean, yeah, I do get the odd one that it's a bogus number and that, but for the most part, I do get phone numbers, and I try phoning them at different times of day. And
what about caller display? What are you doing? Because I'll tell you right now what your first challenge is this. We want to speak to more like 80% of them, not 20%.
Okay.
All right,
okay.
So we really want to be talking to more like 3 times the number of prospects that you're speaking to right now, because that alone would have a huge impact. If you were speaking to 3 times the number of prospects, it'd make a huge difference. All right, so that's number 1. Then we can address, okay, now what happens when you actually talk to them? But first, let's get this straight. If we're only talking to 20% of our viable leads, that's nowhere near good enough. So there's something that you're doing that could be done better to reach more of the prospects. So caller display is a big one. As you mentioned, calling them back quickly definitely helps. Calling them back at different times, calling them from alternate numbers, looking up their address and seeing if there's a home phone number, that's a good idea as well.
Okay. And then would you turn off the automated emails in the meantime? Because the whole thing, like, what you would or you wouldn't? Sorry.
No, I wouldn't turn it off. I mean, there is no downside to stopping that information. Here's why. When you reach the prospect, no matter what, if you determine that there's motivation to sell their home, nothing is going to replace you looking at their property and giving them an accurate evaluation. There's nothing you can send them or email them that's going to be better than you saying, well, look, if I have a chance to take a look at your property, I can be much more accurate in determining the sales price. It's free. There's no obligation. I can point out helpful tips. I can go over a net sheet so you'll know what you'll have left in your pocket. There's no obligation. There's no fee to this whatsoever. It's absolutely free. And I'm flexible. When would be a good time for me to take a look? And nothing you email them can ever take the place of that offer.
And you don't think that if, let's say in between the emails, I do get a chance to speak with them, then do I shut off the automated emails or just keep them going too?
If you determine that they're motivated but their timing isn't right now?
Maybe, yeah, exactly.
Then what you should be offering them is your newsletter. You absolutely
I do. Okay, so I do. So then if I do that, then I'll just keep following up because I do.
Listen, what you're doing by providing them with information, as long as you've determined that they're a little further down the road, what you're doing is you're establishing yourself as their realtor, right? So in other words, if they don't have a realtor, you got to agree that by you, first of all, you've spoken with them. You've determined that they're down the road. There's motivation there, but they're definitely down the road. And you've been the provider of information. Do you agree that all of the other realtors in the marketplace are not on equal footing with you with that prospect? You are definitely ahead of all the other realtors.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So we need to take advantage of that. We need to make sure that we're constantly dripping information on them and that the information is useful. It's not salesy. It's useful information that causes the prospect to see you as the provider of information. That's how during this process, they've got to see you as the source of usable information. And if they do, then as long as you do a good job of following up with them, when it comes a more suitable time for you to meet with them, you already occupy that space in their brain that says, you know what, you're the competent expert. You are our realtor, more so than anybody else is, that's for sure.
And the ones that obviously say, oh, I thought this was just an online home evaluation, do you just sort of not waste your time then with those ones?
No, that's fine. Okay, but what we got to remember is this. What you're going to find is overwhelmingly, most people that are curious as to the value of their home, they will not give their contact information. That's the filter that stops them. In other words, they'll happily describe their property.
Right.
And they go into great lengths describing their property. But when it says, give your contact information, that's where the buck stops. And somebody that has no plans of moving, that's where they put in Mickey Mouse, 555, or they just leave. You'll find 99% of the time a prospect that has no motivation whatsoever, they will describe their property, but they are not going to give contact information. The ones that give contact information, the reason they're doing it, 90+% of the time, the reason they're doing it is because there is a motivation there. Even if their timing isn't immediately, there is a motivation there to sell. And we need to know that every time we pick up the phone, we got to know, what did this prospect do for me to be calling them? They asked for real estate information, and they gave up their anonymity. They gave their contact details. Who would do that? Well, I'll tell you who. Somebody with a level of motivation. That's who. So I hope that helps.
It does. Can I ask one more question?
Sure, since your questions are so good.
Okay. So in the Toronto market, we have a really hot sellers market, so a lot of properties are kind of going within an hour they get listed. So for the buyers that call in and just say, oh, I just want to, I want you to show me this property, what's the best way? Because I do believe you guys in saying, try and set up a meeting so that you can go over a buyer presentation. But
the reason they'd be calling you is because of your listing. Is that right?
Right. It might be minor, but it might be somebody else's, but they got my name because I'm on a whole bunch of different things that, well, it looks like I'm the listing agent, but I'm not necessarily. But anyhow, if they call me,
okay, well, you've got to base this on what actually happened. So if you told me that, well, time is of the essence, and here's what happens. When they call me on a property, and I know that in this market, in these conditions, we got to move immediately. And if I had them come into the office and they wouldn't if you told me this works, they call me and I sell real estate, then I'd say, don't mess with it then. Don't screw with it. If it's working, doing it that way, and you are writing contracts, then, but here's what's more likely. The buyer doesn't buy the home that they wanted you to show them.
For sure.
Right. So you already know. You have a crystal ball that says, I'm wasting my time. So here's what we have to do. We have to say this. Properties are coming on the market every day that likely match exactly what you're looking for. The property that you're most likely to purchase isn't on the market today. But you need to know about that property the second it comes on the market. So I'm going to set up a showing for you to take a look at this property, but I'm also going to set you up on other properties that haven't come on the market yet so that you can be notified the second they're available for sale. It's absolutely free and there's no obligation. Would that be of interest to you?
Okay.
Now, they say yes or they say no. Doesn't matter.
Right.
When have you got 15 minutes to get together with me so we can do a good job of determining exactly what you're looking for, and I can set up a showing with this property so you can take a look at it. Now, they might say, you know, Tuesday or whatever, or today, but they also might say, no, I just want to look at this property, or can we just go look at this property? And the answer is this. My sellers have instructed me that they would like us to qualify the buyers and meet with them before we show them the property. We know there's tons of demand on the property, so they're only interested in the buyers that have first been qualified to ensure that this is the right property for them. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to respect my seller's wishes. I will make this appointment worth your while. As I said, though, when you come and meet with me, we're going to prepare properties and determine what you're looking for so that the future properties that come on the market tomorrow and the next day and the next day are immediately provided to you so that we can move on those ones quickly as well. It's all free. There's no obligation. When it's a good time for you. And you
Yeah, okay, that's
And the
good.
worst they can say is this: no, I just want to look at this property. I'm sorry, but as I said, my sellers have instructed me. I need to meet with you briefly first.
Okay.
No. Okay, because here's the thing. If you say, okay, I'll waste my time. If what you're telling me is every time you do that, they never, ever buy the property, then we know we're knowingly wasting our time. And the truth is, we're also knowingly wasting their time because we know that they're not going to buy the property. If that's been your experience, then we know that everybody's time is being wasted here, and we're aware of that before it happens. Shame on us. What we need to do is we need to make sense of why we need to meet, and there are two reasons. Number one is because I'm going to provide you with the future properties that come on the market. And number two is because my sellers have asked.
Okay.
And those are two very reasonable explanations as to why we need to meet.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like that. Okay.
All right, so bear that in mind. But here's what you really need to work on with the bold leads is figuring out what it is of all of those different things to contact the prospects. What can we do to get that 20% up to closer to 80%? Now, that doesn't mean on the first attempt, of course. It means ultimately we should be reaching closer to 70 or 80% of the leads that you're generating, the viable leads. And that will make the biggest impact for you.
Yeah, no, I agree because I've just had sort of a busy couple of weeks, but I do totally agree with you. And those leads are really good for anybody who's listening. That has been effective for me, so.
Yeah,
okay.
Excellent. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for your questions today. Andrea, who's next?
Okay, we'll go back to some of our chat questions. And can you clarify for James? He says, caller display, should the caller ID be turned off when making calls?
Okay, repeat that one more time.
On the caller display, should he turn that off when he's making his caller ID? Should he turn that off when he's making his calls?
No, definitely not, because if you turn it off, it'll say unknown or blocked, which means telemarketer. If you're calling from your office and it says Remax, then they're not going to answer their phone either. So here's the deal. What you'll find is that when you call from a local telephone number that looks like it's a personal call, they're far more likely to answer the phone. Okay, a personal call. Your name comes up, you know, your first initial and your last name and a local phone number. Here's what they're thinking. This is a personal call. Here's what they're not thinking. This is like a telemarketer calling. Telemarketers call from a block number, a private number, an 888 number, a whole bunch of zeros along the screen, a company name, all of those things say, don't answer me, it's a telemarketer. Here's what isn't a telemarketer. A local phone number with a person's name. Far less likely that you would think, oh, that's a telemarketer. Now, if they let it go to voicemail, don't leave a message. You call them back in 3 minutes, they'll answer the phone. Okay, so, well, there's my answer. All right, Andrea.
Okay.
Next.
Ellen, she says, I got a request from my AMS hotline. The message specified that he wanted the brochure for information only. Should I follow up?
Okay, so they wrote in there, just read that one more time, Andrea.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I'm answering the right question.
The message on the AMS hotline specified that he wanted the brochure for information only.
Well, that's usually why people do want the information. Yeah, okay, so that's perfectly fine. So let's just assume that we're talking to a CNS type personality and they really want information. So when you follow up with this prospect, knowing that they're a CNS type personality, you got to lean really heavily on information and you got to make sure you're extremely non-threatening. That's all. No big deal. But should you follow up them? Yes, yes. Here's the question you need to ask yourself. Why do they want information about selling their home? I just want information about selling my home. That should answer your question. I mean, yeah, of course they do. So we just need to call knowing that, you know, I would hedge and say this, I bet you this prospect is a CS type personality. And they're gathering information. They're going to really do their due diligence. If a salesperson scares them away in any way, they'll be gone and they'll never ever talk to you again. So we got to really make sure that when we call them, we're calling as the provider of information, because, you know, the C personality loves information, all of it, and as much of it as they can possibly get. And that's exactly what we have available to us, is we've got nothing but information that we could provide them in a non-threatening way. So that's what we want to do. All right, let's take one more for today, Andrea.
Okay, and we'll in the helpline with this question, we have a few members who are realizing they're not getting enough leads. So what if our members need more leads? What are the first steps they need to take?
Well, the first step you need to take is to figure out what is broken. In other words, if you said, well, I'm not running any ads, so I'm not generating leads, that would stand to reason. And I'd obviously have to say, well, you should run some ads. But if you say, well, I am running some ads, but I'm not generating enough leads from those ads, then we got to look at those individual ads and say, okay, so are you doing pay-per-click advertising? If so, are they clicking on the ads or are they not clicking on the ads? If they are clicking on the ads, are they asking for the information from the landing page? This generating leads can be a matter of needing to run more marketing or fixing the marketing that you're already engaged in so that it is more successful in generating a higher volume of lead. And obviously, that is a huge can of worms. Here's what I would suggest, though. The way to effectively run a lead generation campaign is by having multiple streams of lead generation. We don't want to rely on only pay-per-click. You know what I mean? Having Google ad campaigns is a great idea. Running Facebook ads, awesome. It works. There's no question about that. But we should also be doing things like at least once a month, you should be using Every Door Direct for a direct mail campaign. We should be looking at print advertising. We should be running an editorial style ad in a local newspaper. We should be running remnant space ads. We can run ads for $25 in remnant space. We'll pick up a lead every time the ad runs or two. You know, the more diverse we are in our lead generation, the more consistent and predictable the leads that we generate will be. But with each one of those types of campaigns, we can mess it up with one of the elements. In other words, if everything is perfect but the landing page isn't quite right, well, we don't generate anything from it. So we've got to figure out the chain is only as strong as the weakest link. So are all of the links strong? And if they're not, which one do we need to address so that that particular campaign is working effectively for us? So here's my recommendation. On Friday, you send in whatever it is that you're doing to the ad clinic session. This is why we designate an entire webinar every week just on your lead generation. It's also why Success Website, once a month, do a webinar just pertaining to online lead generation using the pay-per-click campaigns, etc. So yes, this is a big deal, but here's the good news. Once you solidify your lead generation, all you're doing is you're hitting the repeat button and you're doing it over and over again, because this is direct response marketing. So it operates on that premise that once we establish what works and we repeat that, it will always work, and it will very likely always work pretty much the exact same way. That's the benefit of investing the time, energy, and frustration in getting it right, is that once we get it right, we hit the repeat button and we do it forever and ever. It's 100% duplicatable. The whole process can be duplicated over and over and over and over again. Andrea, thanks so much for your help on the session here today. Appreciate everybody's participation. Happy Monday to everybody. Just as a last reminder, don't forget the 19th, for those of you that are on the West Coast, or even if you're not, it's open to everybody, of course, but we're thinking of your convenience. We're going to have an awesome day in Huntington Beach for our members-only boot camp. And it's at a beautiful spot, too, by the way. I don't know if you've ever been to Surf City, USA, Huntington Beach. It's beautiful. The hotel we're doing it at is phenomenal as well. So everybody really has a nice time getting to know each other as well. I cannot recommend it enough. It's an absolutely incredible day that will really give you clarity in everything that you've been doing up to this point. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. And Andrea, thanks to you as well.
Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Please check the coaching schedule for your webinars this week, and we will talk to you all soon.